Have you read Strange Scenes Inside Laurel Canyon?
I started to read it. I have not finished it.
So, I mean, even just the first chapter, right? So if you take that book's premise, it's basically that before the hippie movement, there was a very powerful organized anti-war movement led by a bunch of Quakers, a bunch of black activists, a bunch of, like, my dad was one of them. And it was not this hippie fringe thing. It was a very powerful anti-Vietnam protest. And the moment that LSD gets introduced, it becomes all peace and love. And he points out in that book how all of these people, like Frank Zappa, like lead members of The Doors, people organizing the Monterey Pop Festival, over and over and over, like he probably has 2 to 3 dozen examples specifically he goes deep into. They all just happen to move from wherever they are all over the world into this area in LA that is not a hotbed for music. And they all just start making music about peace and love and doing LSD. And all of them have parents that are from special forces, intelligence operations, Pentagon. Like some of the musicians themselves have backgrounds that look exactly like CIA operatives that were doing like revolutions in Cuba and overseas.
Like who in specific?
Like the lead singer of the Doors, Jim Morrison, for example. Frank Zappa. So Frank Zappa's one where his dad and his mom were both. Frank Zappa's dad worked at the base that was like the chemical weapons, like where they did their chemical weapons research. His dad was a chemical weapons specialist with like top secret clearances, which is basically like, when you read about what his dad was, it sounds a lot like what MK Ultra would be. It sounds a lot like what you would like drug experiments. And
chemical weapons is drug experiments?
Well, chemical is the wrong word. Psychological operations. But it's right there, like it's on his Wikipedia page. It's not hard to find these things. What that guy did, that I forget who wrote the book, but what he did was not like uncover evidence that had never been uncovered. He just looked at all these different people whose histories were very public, but he put it all together and realized, like, that's a lot of people that all moved to this one place and all started producing music that was like all within this one thing. Like Jim Morrison, his dad was the lead commander of the boat that was in the Gulf of Tonkin that started the Vietnam War. That's like kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
And you could definitely make the explanation that kids often rebel against their parents, right? Kids often step out of line and are like fuck the old way.
Right.
But a lot of them were ex-military, like directly ex-suits and ex-CIA.
Was Morrison an ex-military
No,
guy?
Morrison, I don't believe he was.
Why do you think that he looks like a CIA operative then?
No, not Morrison. I was saying Frank Zappa. It's